Day 3 of the Lindsay Clancy trial may have been the hardest to watch so far, not because of the psychiatric information, but because we learned firsthand from the people that responded and walked into that house. I'm Nicole Morgan, psychiatric nurse practitioner, and I'm following this case day by day to explain the psychiatric elements that are going on, because there's a lot. The day's testimony came almost entirely from the first responders who arrived at the Clancy home on January 24th, 2023. Police officers, firefighters, and paramedics described what they encountered as they searched for the children and attempted life-saving measures. Their testimony was emotional, and several witnesses became visibly upset while recalling what they experienced. One thing that's important to understand is that today's testimony was not focused on Lindsay Clancy's psychiatric condition. Instead, it was the prosecution's goal to establish what happened at the scene, document the physical evidence, and help the jury understand the timeline of events. That is a routine but very important part of building a criminal case. We also heard descriptions of Patrick Clancy's reaction after he discovered what had happened. His distress became a significant part of the testimony, illustrating the chaos and the trauma that unfolded that evening. As someone who works in psychiatry, I think it's worth pointing out that days like today can be difficult because they naturally evoke a strong emotional response. It's completely understandable to feel grief, anger, and heartbreak while listening to this testimony because it's really hard to hear. But legally, emotion isn't what determines the verdict. The central question in this trial remains whether Lindsay Clancy met the legal standard for criminal responsibility at the time of the killings. Today's testimony helps establish what occurred, but does not answer psychiatric or legal questions. Those issues will likely become much more prominent once expert witnesses begin testifying. For now, day 3 was primarily about documenting the crime scene through the eyes of the first responders, a difficult but necessary step before the jury begins hearing the psychiatric evidence that will likely become the focus of this case. I'm continuing to follow this trial each day, both from a psychiatric and educational perspective. If you're interested in learning about mental health evidence that comes in, not just headlines, follow along for the next recap.